Hi there, this is Jacqueline with Nickel and Dime Decor. So glad to be with you. And I've just got the cutest little project you ever saw. It's a wine holder beverage gift bag. And it's in your Fons and Porter's Quick and Easy Quilts, the January 2022 issue, if you want to get the pattern. This was created by Abigail Dolinger, and you can go to her website, which is abyquilts.wordpress.com, and I'm sure she could send you the pattern there, or go to Fons and Porter's Quick and Easy Quilts. It's just a pretty easy pattern for beginners. You can do it, no problem. And I'm going to put the camera down in just a minute to show you. She made hers kind of Christmassy, and I decided not to do that, just so people, you know, to me it would be just a wonderful gift to give to someone, and then they could pass it to someone, and they could pass it to someone, and then go back down the chain and eventually get your own gift back. I think that would be such a, like if you had a group of ladies, 7 or so, and each time it was the next person's time to get one. Wouldn't that be, that'd be such a neat idea, like for their birthdays, and they get to keep it until the next birthday. Just an off-the-wall idea. But let me put the camera down so you'll know what I'm talking about, okay? Isn't that darling? I love it, I love it, I love it. I love it because it's so festive and so bright and cheery. So from this to this, and I am ready to sew, but I'm not ready really, but I just wanted to put the strips on. What you're going to need is a 13-inch piece of backing, square, 2 corner pieces, which are 4-inch squares cut in half. Then you'll use 1 for each corner. And then I have 11 assorted strips from 3/4 to 2 inches, just random. And what I've tried to do is mirror. This is my center. This yellow right here is my center. And then I have put the same piece on the alternate sides and gone out like this. So it's mirrored. It's the same pieces on. You don't have to do that. They can all be different. There's no rhyme or reason to it. And be sure and cut them out long enough. And these go from anywhere starting at 8 inches up to 18 inches. I even did one. You don't need that much, but it's just to make sure that it covers this edge. Because if you'll note, right here on my center piece, there's a little tiny bit sticking out of the batting. But this has to be trimmed down to 12.5-inch square. So I'm okay with that little tiny piece poking out. It's all right. But, you know, you can, instead of brights like this, you could do all black and white. You could do all red and white. Oh my goodness, you could do whatever the heck you wanted to do. And like if, you know, if someone likes particular colors, we'll do it in their colors. But it was fun. It didn't take long at all to do. And I'm going to take all of my strips off and lay them to the side, and then get my backing and batting and the first piece corners all lined up even, because they're not. I just put that under there, but I've got to line everything up, and then all I'm going to, I don't pin, but I'm just going to pin the corners so that they'll stay. Get them all lined up, and then do the pin these, and I'm going to pin my centerpiece and leave it there, because I don't know exactly how my, after I've sewn them, you know, it's going to take up a 1/4 inch, so I just don't know how big this is going to be, really. That's why I put the biggest 2-inch piece right here, because I just don't know how much of it I'm going to need for my centerpiece to work. You need a 13-inch piece of batting, 13-inch piece of backing, your 4-inch square cut in half, and 11 assorted. All right? And I'm going to get this all put together, and then I'm going to start sewing. And when I get to like my centerpiece, I'll come back, because you don't need to watch me, you know, do all this. That would take too much time. Just remember, after you have turned this over and done right sides together, be sure and finger press each time. Really get it, and then when you pull it over, finger press. We're not going to touch it with an iron, because that just takes too much time, and it's not really that necessary. And this is called Quilt As You Go, and just be sure this piece is centered on here. Good. Same length over here as over here. Then finger press. Turn it over, finger press, and then put your next piece. So we'll get started and get this little beautiful wine gift bag. Okay, I've got my planned strips on this side all sewn down, but as you can see, I'm going to be short. Once you take up these 1/4 inch seams, see, on each side, it makes a lot of difference. So I had 11 strips, and I'm going to have 13 strips. So I've got 6 strips in my middle strip, and then 6 strips. So instead of my planned 11, I'm having 13. But the pattern calls for 10. So she did not make, you know, little tiny ones like this. She made her strips bigger. So it's going to depend upon how big you make your strips, how many you're going to need. And that you'll just have to figure out. If you cut them 10 strips, you'll want to cut them all pretty big sizes, at least 2 and 1 3/4 inch, and 1 1/2 maybe your smallest. But mine go from 1 inch on up to 2 inches. So that's a lesson learned as we make things. My other one that I made, the one that I showed you, I didn't have this many strips, so my strips are wider. Okay, just wanted to show that to you. Okay, everything is sewn and looking pretty good. Now, the only way that you can trim this is to turn it over. And my batting and top and everything shifted a little bit, but I'm going to trim it to the back. And then we will trim it down to 12.5. But first you have to get all of this off before you can see what you're doing. Can't trim something when you can't see what's going on. This is what's so fun, is you turn it over and get to see the magic part. Ta-da! Isn't that cute? And my patterns, they're going every which way because I really wanted it just for the color and not necessarily, you know, the print. So my little elephant is going one way on this side, and they're both kind of facing in. But when you sew this together, nothing's going to match, and it's not supposed to. You don't have to worry about matching seams or anything because it's not going to, because they're varied lengths. And so, and you see where I goofed right here a little bit, but now I'm going to get my square up ruler and put it on here. And this is a 12.5 inch, which is what we're supposed to have. And since this is my good side, my better side down here, I'm going to measure from here. And I think just kind of center it. And then we'll trim to 12.5. And that way, you know, thank goodness, you just got some leeway. What we're really doing is just trimming a 1/4 inch all the way around. But since I goofed right there, I'm going to go ahead and put it down here. And then trim. That gives me my 12.5 and 12.5. I love a pattern where it gives us some leeway so we don't have to worry about, you know, not being perfect. And this way I only had to trim 3 sides too. No, I'm going to have to trim, well, we'll see. Let's see. You have to press pretty hard. You got a lot of fabric. No, got to do all 4 sides. Okay, 12.5 inches. 12.5 inches. Isn't that going to be so bright and so cheery and such a nice gift to give someone? Okay. Now our next instructions is we have a little hem right here on the top. And that is, you cut it. Let me get my instructions. 1 3/4 by 12.5. And we're going to turn under on one side of it a hem. I believe they turn under 3/8 of an inch. Oh, look at their pictures of some different ideas. In blues and silver, in pastels, and I think it'd be beautiful in black and white and tied with a red ribbon or a red cording like I've got. But that's just some other ideas for it. Yes, you use a 3/8 inch hem. So I'm going to cut that out at the 1 3/4 by 12.5. And I don't know which fabric I'm going to use. I think I'll just use my backing piece. That way when you hem it, you don't have to worry about, you know, your thread maybe showing just a little bit. So, I don't know though, I might make it different. We'll see. I'll cut it out and we'll see what we got. One other little hint for you also, when you're doing your strips, spray them with some, this is just what I use, but some real good starch, or this is just called clear starch and sizing alternative, and it's scent free. But it makes your strips sew better and not get distorted and look nicer. So this is my 1 3/4 inch for my hem around the top. And to get my 3/8, they want you to hem it up 3/8. And, you know, I'm pretty good at guessing, but I'm not going to guess. I'm going to put my ruler on there and see if that's 3/8, and it is. Maybe a touch too much. But if, you know, if it wants you to do it 3/8, we need to do it 3/8. So just press, finger press while you're going, and then you can go back over it with the iron. And get your 3/8. You know, I've seen it advertised where that you can, it's a ruler that you can iron over. Wouldn't that be nice? Then after we get this, our 3/8, we're going to just line it up, whichever you want it to be the top, and we're going to sew it right sides together with our hem down. Just a second, when I get this finished right here, I'll show you. we're just going to put right sides together. That's not 12.5 inches. I gotta cut that. I don't know what I was measuring, but that's not 12.5 inches. I'll cut it in a minute. You're gonna have your hem going up like this, and we're just gonna put it together, and we're gonna do a 1/4 inch seam right across here, and that'll be your hem. Then we'll be ready to sew the sides together. Once we get this pressed, then we're gonna fold it up, press it, and fold it up. Then we will sew right sides together, okay? But first things first, let's sew the hem on. And press it up, and I'll do that. Okay, there's the little hem part. I just sewed it to the top, then pressed it to the top. Now, we need to put our cording on, and it calls for 24 inches of cording. And you can use, in their instructions, they used wired ribbon. You can do that. Cording of any kind. And we're going to go down 3 inches from the very, very top. And just put you a little pin there to mark your way. We're going to fold it in half and put it right there. Just like that. Then the directions, why I really don't know, but it's okay, it's what it tells us to do, is they just kind of weave it like this, like that. Well, it's not going to get sewn like that, but anyway, now all we want to do is base this on right here. And I went to, you know, your seam allowance is going to be, the side seams are going to be 3/8. So you can do a 1/4 inch. And then when you do the 3/8, it'll hide that basting. So I'm going to base that and then sew and be sure that these don't, you know, get caught. And line everything up exactly even. And remember, this is for a bottle of wine or beverage. You want this seam to be really, really strong. So I'm going to go over it twice. And I'm going to go back and forth at the top and back and forth at the bottom. Because we just don't want, I mean, wouldn't that be awful if it didn't hold up? So that's what we're going to do. And I will first tack my cording on, And then I will sew up the sides, and I'm going to pin that top and I'm going to pin the bottom, just so I know I've got it good and even. This, you want your ribbon to be a little bit off-centered. And what I mean by off-centered is it's not even right together. It makes it tie better if it's not. See how the bottle is, how the ribbon is. That makes it, I don't know why, but it just makes it tie a little bit better. Now you can make it even if you want to. But that's just, it shows that you do that just a little bit, you know, spread these apart just a little bit before you tack it. All right, I'll be right back. I have sewn the sides together from top to bottom, then turned it to the middle, put my seam in the middle as best I, you know, it's not perfect, but it's in the middle. Then press my seams open, and then I sewed a 3/8 inch seam, across the bottom. I sewed it twice, and I sewed this seam twice. Now my instructions tell me to draw 1/4, 1 1/4 inch square right here in the corners, and I have marked it with my pen on both sides. Then very, very carefully cut that out. So very, very carefully, that's what we're going to do. I haven't ever made a bag like this, doing this, but it works out great. Now, you can turn this under and hem right now, if you like. I think the blue was a good choice. Something different. You can hem that now or later, but hem it before you turn your bag. Okay, now I'm going to have to read this again because this is a little bit confusing to me. I opened my seam And it's just pretty hard to get that exactly right. But since it's a square, well, not a square, well, yeah, it is a square. Right there. Right there. Finally got it. And you just have to kind of hold your mouth just right. And it says to do just a fourth, let's see, yeah, a 1/4 inch. A 1/4 inch. I'm going to pin that right now and pin the other one while I've got it. And if it slips up on you just a little bit and it's not just perfect, it's okay. All right, we'll do this one. Open up our seams. There we have it, okay? It would be nice if that was nice and pressed, but all right, I'm gonna very quickly do this and I'll be right back. Okay, there's what our seam looks like. So we've got little boxed corners. Now that's, and I sewed twice. I went over it twice. Gonna move my chair over so I can adjust my camera just a little bit. There you have your perfectly boxed corners. And then when you get your, now you'll just tie right like so. Isn't that, and then of course I've got the hem. I haven't done that yet. I'll turn it back wrong side out and hem it. And you just go to your sewing line right there, just meet it, and then stitch it down. And that'll be your little hem, okay? Oh, I just so hope you'll make this. It's just the cutest thing in the world. I think it is. When you make one, you'll see how really relatively simple it was and so much fun to do. Thank you for watching. God bless. One last thing I'd like to tell you is I didn't quilt this one. I did the first one. I think it does add to it to quilt. Just do straight lines, 1/8 to a 1/4 inch from your seams. But that's strictly up to you. It's not necessary, but it's an added dimension if you want to do it. Just thought I'd better tell you that. Bye.